It is always up to debate who the strongest character in Marvel and in comics in general is, and it's changing all the time. While a lot of a character's power level depends on the writers, current stories, and who's popular at the time, as fans it is fun to speculate and wonder who really is the most powerful of all the heroes and villains. So watchers, today we want to start something I'd like to call Power Watch, where we will discuss who is currently the most powerful characters in the MCU to date, and today we will focus on heroes. Before I get too far into who I currently believe is the strongest Avenger in Phase 4 and the current events of the MCU, a few rules and some of the most powerful characters of previous phases. When we're talking power levels, we're talking everything that these heroes bring to the table in terms of abilities, all weapons, powers, and strength. We will also be looking at them at a point of their abilities up to the point that we are in the MCU, so the champion of this title could be changing quite often, especially when we're talking about villains. In the past 3 phases, the most powerful Avengers at the end of each phase would probably include Hulk, Vision, and Captain Marvel. While these could possibly be argued, especially because much time has passed and many of these characters' stories have changed and developed, this really proves that we will have to keep an eye on a character's powers quite often. Currently in the MCU, however, it's easy to make the distinction as to who the most powerful Avenger is, and right now that is Scarlet Witch. While you could argue against this, I think that it is very hard because of the events of WandaVision. In the comics, she is a fairly powerful character, if not one of the most powerful. And up until now, she was relegated to the sidelines as a second-tier hero in the MCU. While part of that may have been due to Fox's ownership of the mutants and possibly some of the stories that Wanda could be a part of, but now with everything being changed and the completion of WandaVision, we finally got to see Wanda near her max power level. But prior to entering the limelight, Wanda was a force to be reckoned with, and getting her own story only boosted that up. In Age of Ultron, she was able to manipulate the minds of most of the Avengers, turning them against themselves so that Ultron could complete his task. But in the end, she would also be the bane of Ultron's existence, as she was the one who saw into Ultron's mind through Vision, and probably is the only reason the Avengers could do what they needed to defeat Ultron. Without the intel she received through her powers, everybody probably would have ended up dead, as Ultron would have been able to go through with his plan. Even as a newly anointed member of the Avengers, she was an effective team member who, although was still learning to control her powers she just barely got, she did use them in ways that displayed true power whether she knew it or not. After all, she was able to create a force field that not only contained Rumlow's explosion, but also seemed to stop it in time a little bit. Even soon after, when she was escaping the Avengers compound, Hawkeye did what he could to fight Vision, but eventually, because of the thought Hawkeye put into her mind for escaping, it was ultimately her that stopped Vision from getting in the way of their escape. Even against far stronger alien enemies, she holds her own far better than even Vision did. She held off Proxima Midnight and to some extent Corvus Glaive just long enough to allow Captain America, Black Widow, and Falcon to step in and help them out. She even had the strength to destroy the Infinity Stones, which is in no way a small feat, as Thanos to destroy the Infinity Stones needed to use the stones. And finally, in the end battle against Thanos before she headed off to Westview, she displayed a massive amount of power that almost destroyed the Mad Titan. If she took the opportunity, she probably could have ended him, but it seemed as if she wanted him to suffer, so it gave Thanos an opening to call fire down upon the Avengers, proving that Thanos feared what she might do to him. WandaVision proves that if she really wanted to destroy the Sanctuary 2 or change everything in the battlefield that day to her and the Avengers' favor, she could have. In the end though, it is because of the events of WandaVision itself that proves that although she may not have had it yet, she is now the strongest Avenger. That is, if she doesn't become their enemy again. In WandaVision, we finally get to see some of Wanda's true power, as well as a bit of what fans wanted to see from her since her first appearance on the big screen. Although for a large part of the show it seems that her powers may be near their peak, it is not even at their peak yet, as these powers manifested without her control, so just imagine how much more powerful she would be with control. Her powers, we learn, come from chaos magic, a magic that is so powerful that even possessing it was nothing more than a myth prior to Wanda. And she was even able to use these powers unknowingly at a young age without any training. When she finally knew of her powers due to the advancements of the Mind Stone, she quickly learned how to use them to get what she wanted. And this is very clear in Westview. In Westview, she uses her powers to the near fullest extent, again without her knowledge, and it is truly awe-inspiring what she could do on accident. Her abilities and strength are unmatched, and although we're not necessarily talking about how powerful she'll be in the future, I can only imagine what she'll be able to do once she knows how she can control magic she's been gifted with. We know a lot of her chaos magic powers are based on psionic energy, and she is able to control and manipulate things with her mind using her powers. She has the ability to change everything to fit her worldview, so how she wants things to be is how things are going to be. And you gotta think that for a majority of the time she does this subconsciously, so the ability to change the world around her, although a newfound ability, would have been very useful against Thanos, and will probably be useful very soon in Doctor Strange. We know she has the ability to do many things with these powers, including control the weather, manipulate electricity and fire, transmute objects into something completely new, control time, and even conjure things that didn't exist before. These are some amazing abilities, and it really proves what a terrifying force Wanda could have been and is now. If she could create Vision and her children from her consciousness, as well as objects in the world like the wedding rings and a dog collar, what else could she create to aid her? And as she reads from the Darkhold, she may learn how to create these things outside of a hexagon of control. If she can really manipulate electricity, weather, and fire, what else could she change or utilize in the world to attack her enemies? And with the ability to control time, she doesn't need the Time Stone or the Quantum Realm to go back in time and change how things are, which may pose a problem in the future. She is basically a walking, talking version of all of the Infinity Stones, as chaos magic seems to give her many of the abilities that the stones possessed. So, if she had known of these powers when facing Thanos the first time, Infinity War would have ended very differently. As the people Wanda face and could possibly face in the future, her powers seem to far surpass many of them. When facing off against a witch, Agatha, that seems to have more experience as well as more power than her, Wanda is not just able to trick her by using Agatha's own knowledge against her, but she also drains her power to the extent that Agatha has no more power. But something else interesting on top of this in her fight against Agatha is that when she controls Agatha at the end of the show, she no longer seems to need an area to control her, as well as it seems that she is controlling her from a distance, as well as transmuting her image to make her look like Agnes again. As to a comparison with Doctor Strange, she seems that she is far more powerful than even he may be at the moment, as we see her using the astral form in a different way than anyone else has used it so far. She appears to be able to enter her astral form while being conscious, hinting that she may even have more magical power than Doctor Strange himself, or even possibly the Ancient One when she was alive. Against many of the current heroes that are alive or present in the MCU at the moment, if they did get into a fight, they would have their work cut out for them. Next year, when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness rolls around, he may have his work cut out with him, either helping Wanda continue her training or even facing off against her if she attempts to use the Darkhold to open up the Dark Dimension and find her boys. Against Doctor Strange, she would easily be able to cast new magic and runes she learned from the Darkhold, open portals to dimensions Doctor Strange hasn't even seen yet, and probably drain his or other sorcerers' powers, taking their magic from them as Baron Mordo did at the end of Doctor Strange. Even against other Avengers who are presumed to be the most powerful. To me, it seems that she could easily wipe the floor with them. We don't yet know the limit of her power absorption abilities, but if she faced off against Captain Marvel, she might have a fairly easy time, since Captain Marvel's powers also come from an Infinity Stone. So that leaves the possibility that all Wanda would have to do is allow Carol Danvers to attack her so she can drain her powers. I personally think that this is the case because with the entrance of mutants into the MCU very soon, we may find that Wanda's mutant side gives her the ability to manipulate energy, and when combined with chaos magic, she is able to manipulate energies outside of magic, therefore stealing energy from other beings. As for heroes and enemies that use strength and brute force, she would easily throw them around as she did with Thanos, possibly not even needing to use her newfound powers. But if she did, she could transmute them into something far less threatening, create an entity to fight for her, or even simply control their minds. She is currently and will be a force to be reckoned with. And when the time comes, I hope she'll be an ally to Doctor Strange and the Avengers and not a foe. So again, with the current events of the MCU, I believe that Wanda is the most powerful hero residing there. But because this is my theory, I want to know what you think. Do you think Wanda is the most powerful hero residing in the MCU? Or do you think it's someone else? And if you do think it's someone else, why? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and then like this video and subscribe to The Marvelous Wave to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.